This week we have a real unique four-drawer dresser that's definitely in need of some repair. There's pretty significant water damage to the top, but overall it's got great bones, and I think it's going to make a great project. I really like this hardware. It's unique, something I don't see every day. So for the first step, I'm going to go ahead and pull this hardware off. But for whatever reason, I had a hard time getting that screw off. Sometimes when you take the drawer pulls or any hardware off an old dresser, you'll find mismatched hardware. And there's definitely a machine screw on this side and a wood screw that somebody cut off, looks like with a hacksaw, in the other side. So I'll definitely be replacing the hardware screws. But I think I'm going to keep this hardware. It's very unique and I love the lines on it. I've been using Simple Green on the past couple of projects that I've worked on, and I've really liked how well it cuts through grime and dirt on these dressers. Now I do use a bucket of warm water. I apply the Simple Green full strength, and I rinse my rag frequently to help cut down the strength of the Simple Green. I clean the inside and the outside, and I'm always blown away just how much dirt comes off a piece of furniture. Now I typically go over it a couple of times, once with Simple Green and once just with water, but I'm always amazed at how dirty the bucket of water is after that first cleaning. Now that I have the dresser cleaned, I'm going to go ahead and strip the finish off the fronts of these drawers. Now if you're new to using paint stripper, follow the instructions for sure. I typically will put on a pair of gloves, I wear safety goggles, and I'll work in a well-ventilated area, even with a fan on to bring extra fresh air in. This stuff is a really strong odor and you certainly don't want to be breathing it. And you're simply going to put it on in a liberal amount, enough that it's not going to dry out over the 15-minute waiting period. And then when you come back after 15 minutes, use a stiff putty knife and you can simply scrape off that top layer of finish. The trick here is you don't want to push down too hard. You want to take off the material that the stripper has softened and is allowing you to take off. Right now I've got my second coat of stripper has been soaking for about 15 minutes. So we're going to go ahead and scrub that off and see where it takes us. So I just got done with my second application of the stripper. And it did basically what I thought it was going to do. It did a good job at getting through the varnish, but I think I'm going to grab my carbide scraper and I'll give these guys a quick scrape. I love using a sharp scraper to remove the last bits of finish off of the piece. It's so satisfying, sounds good, and it just feels good to work with wood in that way. If you guys haven't tried using a carbide scraper, I definitely recommend investing in one. They're less than $30 and they make a huge difference when you're working on a piece of furniture. I put a 220 grit paper on the random orbital to give a final sanding just to smooth everything out. You can see here, I'm not pushing down on this sander. I'm just letting the weight of the sander itself do the work, and I'm slowly guiding it back and forth across the piece. There are a couple of places of missing veneer on the fronts of these drawers, and I didn't have a piece of veneer that matched. So I grabbed my quick wood and I'll use this as a filler to level up the places that that veneer is missing. I did see a couple of tips online where you could use a wet finger to help push the epoxy in place, and that way it wouldn't stick to your finger or to your tools. And I think that did work pretty well, although I wished I had given the epoxy a little bit more time to set up before I began working it. Sometimes I don't have a whole lot of patience. The quick wood filler is going to need some time to set up, so I grabbed the random orbital sander and 120 grit paper and gave the whole piece a nice scuff sand. I am going to be painting the outside of this dresser, so I'm just looking to get off any loose finish and give a good solid surface for the paint to stick to. As soon as I'm done sanding, I'll go over the entire piece with a damp cloth and get any dust off of it. And then we're on to the painting step. And for this project, I am using a paint by Country Chic in the color Licorice. I really enjoy using this paint. It is a chalk style paint and it will dry to a nice matte finish. And it only takes about 30 minutes between coats, so it's really quick and really easy to use. I ordered this paint right off of Amazon. It took about 1 day to arrive, and a real nice delivery person just dropped it off at my front step. And that saves me a ton of time when I'm trying to make money flipping furniture. Driving back and forth to the hardware store is a huge time sap. So I really appreciate the fact that I can order this right online and it shows up so quickly. While this first coat of paint is drying, I'll grab my Tung Oil and start working on these drawer fronts. The Tung Oil is a real easy product to work with. I'll simply grab a shop cloth and pour a pretty good amount of the oil on the surface that I'm working on, and I'll use that shop towel to push it around and give a pretty even soaking in the wood. And it's okay if you leave a pretty heavy film of oil on there. We'll wipe that off in a few minutes. So I'll actually go around and do the same process to each piece, and that gives time for the oil to soak in. And after about 10 or 15 minutes, I'll use a clean shop cloth and wipe off any excess. Now, with any rubbed on oil finish, one of the drawbacks is you need to do multiple coats. And tung oil does require 12 to 24 hours between coats. So I'll do a minimum of 3 applications over the course of a couple of 3 days to build up the finish that I want to protect these drawer fronts. I'm going to go ahead and grab some Howard feed-in wax and go ahead and give these drawers a little rub down and recondition them and give them a nice soft scent of orange in the process. There's all kinds of ways you can apply this. I tend to use just a shop towel, and I'll squirt some of the Howard's feed-in wax in the bottom, and then I'll use the towel to wipe that in and a nice even coat on all the surfaces. So this has got honey and a orange scent to it. I guess it's not honey. That would make an awfully sticky drawer. It's got beeswax. It's all natural. No need for gloves for this. My design needs the drawer hardware to be black, so I used Barkeeper's Friend to clean any grime off of them and hit them with a couple of 3 light coats of black spray paint, letting each coat dry fully before I applied the next. While the drawer hardware is drying, I changed my attention to this repair that I had done in the veneer on the drawer front. You can see that I tried to color it in using some wood stain markers, and that really wasn't the right tool for the job, and didn't give me the look, obviously, that I was looking for. So I jumped online and I found this repair kit that comes with 12 different little tubes of coloring. And it has this real neat chart that allows you to mix together the different colors to blend to whatever it is that you need to do for your repair. Now, I am challenged when it comes to color choices and color blending, so I found this little chart to be very useful. I simply found the color that was the closest that I was looking for and followed the grid. And I was able to mix together a couple of different colors, and that gave me the base color that I was looking for. Real easy. So I bought this kit on Amazon, and I want to say it was under $15 or $16. And I only ended up using a couple of drops of maybe 2 or 3 colors to complete this job. So this is a kit I'll definitely have in the shop for quite some time. And I apologize for the audio through this segment. When I recorded the video, I actually talked through the process, but when I came to editing, I realized that the audio quality was just so poor that I ended up doing a voiceover on it. But essentially, what I'm doing here is I've mixed together the two colors that the chart said would give me the look I was going for, and I found it a little bit too orange. So I was able to fix that by just adding a little bit of black, and that actually matched that background and that grain really well. And I was really surprised at how well it blended in, quite honestly. After I got the color on that I was looking for, I used a larger brush to kind of blend together the orange hues and that black highlight that I'd added. And then I gave this some time to set up and dry. And it actually ended up drying quite a bit darker than it looks like in the video here. And then for the last step, I used a very fine paintbrush and some black, and I extended some of the grain lines into that patch to further help blend it. And I'll go ahead and throw a photo of the final product here in just a second. Like I said before, the patch isn't perfect, but if you're not looking for it, you're not going to see it. Well, before we get into the final reveal of this project, let's take a look at where we started from. This is a great piece with good bones, but it was definitely worn. We had some chipped veneer and a lot of scratches, and it was definitely orange. Be sure to hit the subscribe button. Next week, I'll be updating this dresser to a nice coastal theme.